So it's my great honor to introduce our next speaker, Captain Maday, from the 60th Operations Group at the U.S. Air Force. The captain here is here to speak about the innovative use of the Google Earth portable server within the Air Force and what they're doing, and to give a general overview of that. So without further ado, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. It's just a VGA. My goal this afternoon is to kind of show you how we've been using Google Earth, how it's transformed the way that we do business, and then to show you how the portable solution is going to be employed. I would like to start out first by kind of giving you some context, telling you a little about who we are and what we do. We're just one subset of a very large defense and intelligence apparatus, and so I think it's important to create that context here as we talk about how Google Earth has played a role. All right. So myself and Master Sergeant Andy Wright and Airman Jesse Davis are coming to you from Travis Air Force Base, just up the road here. And Travis Air Force Base has the world's largest fleet of airlift and tanker aircraft. So we're talking about really big aircraft that move supplies, equipment, and personnel anywhere in the world that they need to go. We fall under, and we're subordinate to a larger organization called Air Mobility Command, so one of 9 major commands within the Air Force. So we're talking about 720 large airlift aircraft, 500 tanker aircraft, and at any given time, these aircraft are on 5 different continents, 100 different countries, and their unlimited range with air refueling means that they may take off here from Travis and they can fly unrefueled to Iraq or Afghanistan. And myself as an intelligence officer, I kind of have the mandate to make sure that that crew and that $300 million aircraft know what sort of risks may be on the ground when they leave and when they arrive. So it's a pretty complicated situation, and it's only complicated because we're dealing with such a large bureaucracy and so much information. So I'm an Air Force officer, so I fall in the Department of Defense bureaucracy you see spelled out across the screen there. But I'm also an intelligence officer, so we're kind of a member of this intelligence community as well. And we're the conduit, really, for those pilots and the leadership within the Air Force to get good threat reporting and good information so that they can effectively mitigate risk. But all through these organizations, I mean, the intelligence community is made up of 100,000 personnel, a budget of $42 billion a year. The Department of Defense is just enormous. And throughout these bureaucracies, people are creating reports, they're publishing information, and it's all being pushed out in a variety of different formats. What this means to me and my associates is that when a pilot walks into our office and they say, I'm leaving now to go to Kirkuk in northern Iraq, we are expected to instantly leverage this entire bureaucracy and give them the best information possible so that if someone on the ground there is intent on interrupting their mission or causing them harm, they're going to know about it. And that's just extremely difficult to do using legacy processes. And it's not that we don't have enough information, it's that literally we are drowning in disparate data. That throughout these bureaucracies, there are just a ton of different function-specific databases that don't work well together. We rely very heavily on email, and the point-to-point nature of email it just makes it very difficult to collaborate. We spread critical information across everybody's inbox, and we maintain the world's largest repository of PowerPoint slides. So by publishing in PowerPoint, we are right off the bat creating some challenges for ourselves when it comes to analysis, correlation, and the fusion of data. So at the end of the day, creating meaning and displaying relation is cumbersome, and we lose a lot of productivity and a lot of time just trying to dig through this information and come up with a composite picture. And at the end of the day, we put a lot of geospatially significant information on PowerPoint slides. The challenge there is that after 30 days, if we want to go back and try to give you some sort of 30-day analysis or roll-up, we're doing that with 30 individual maps. It just didn't make sense. So quick visual of what that looks like. Again, I told you I'm one of 105 different organizations that within Air Mobility Command, but here's just an example of how 5 of those work. Rota, Spain, they have an air crew that had something significant happen. Maybe somebody tried to interrupt what they were doing. Someone tried to cause them harm. They'll put out a PowerPoint slide on it, maybe put a map on that slide, give some amplifying information. They email it out to all these other organizations. The problem is that if they get some amplifying information or some clarifying information just a few minutes later, we now have 4 different copies, 104 different copies of this PowerPoint slide, and they're all over the place. We're constantly chasing our tail. This is what leads to circular reporting, and it's really this reliance on the product. The product-centric model just wasn't doing it for us. So as of I'll step back and say this is all happening in our organization as the consumer market is completely moving to interactive maps, and GPS technology is becoming ubiquitous. So the same pilot who comes to our office with the, his GPS on his iPhone and his GPS in his car, he has the ability to command location-based services right up until he hits the door of our building, and then he hits a kind of our digital wall. So on the way into work, he or she can hit a button and find out how many IHOPs are within 3 nautical miles of where they're driving. But when they come to our office and ask, hey, how many times has somebody been shot at within 30 miles of Baghdad, we just kind of throw our hands up in the air and start crunching numbers. We're going through spreadsheets, we're going through databases. It just isn't working. So when we really looked at our processes, what we saw is that we needed to take all of our quantitative data, our geospatially significant data, and display it on an interactive globe. And we did that starting 1 January of 2008 using Google Earth on CIPRNet. So CIPRNet is a proprietary classified network that we use, and it was Google Earth was made available to us by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. So NGA paid for the licenses, and we had free access to it. So what did we do? Well, we started just filtering all this incoming data and into a few different automated and manual systems that would plot it automatically to Google Earth. So as the intelligence reports would come in, they'd be geotagged and put out on the globe. As our operations were commencing, we would track them and plot them in Google Earth. So at any given time, we had a pretty good common operating picture that showed us where our friendly forces may intersect the threats, and that's why we call it the intersect. So what this really allowed, and what it is allowing now, is for enterprise integration and collaboration. Now we've got the good information out front, we're watching it as it happens. So we're moving from that product-centric model to everyone collaborating within the globe. And it's really been a force multiplier for us. So now when that pilot walks into our shop, they're not getting the 18-year-old analyst's best answer necessarily, they're getting the community's best answer. And so this is really a way for us to leverage kind of the distributive problem-solving nature of a large organization like ours. That common operating picture, as I mentioned, and really the net-centric model, the fact that we're getting the best information out to the folks as quickly as possible. We love Google Earth for this because of its filtering capabilities, and we're going to kind of show you. This is all simulated data, but we'd like to show you here. The first is just the ability to filter geospatially. It's the fact that we can literally just spin the globe and pan to Iraq, and that's a pretty neat capability, but it's something we kind of take for granted because it is fairly elementary. The second is the ability to bring in data feeds. We have all sorts of different feeds we can tie into. As long as we can get it formatted in KML, we can bring it out, and we can engage them here. So here I engage Sapphires. These are surface-to-air fires anytime somebody shoots at an aircraft. And the third is the time slide, the ability to filter temporally. So we can very quickly show that pilot, that operator, a good laydown of where the threat information is relevant. What you see here is we can customize it down. If I just want to see rockets that have been used in the last month, we can very quickly make that happen. And that's very significant because this same sort of activity would have taken us 60 to 90 minutes using our legacy tools like Microsoft Excel or some of our legacy GIS software suites. So we can then link each of those place marks into a legacy piece like a PowerPoint slide. So we haven't completely reinvented the wheel. We're still using some of our traditional publishing means, but now that slide doesn't exist on a shared drive. It's not buried on somebody's hard drive. It's not in somebody's inbox. It's placed on a map where it belongs. So we found a ton of success with this. In the past, those 105 intelligence units were not sharing information. They were not collaborating. We've now kind of turned that on its head, and we're moving forward in a much more organized and efficient way. This is really right in line with the Director of National Intelligence's Vision 2015, and that vision is to use that large intelligence community, those 16 federated agencies and the 100,000 personnel they have working for this common good of the country, to use that as a enterprise to integrate and to push it all toward a customer-driven purpose. So the pilots we work for are our customers, and we can very quickly get them the best answers that they need as they head out on the road. So the intersect, we're now, this would be the 7th month, so we're now 19 months into this initiative. It's absolutely been a benchmark across not only Air Mobility Command, but the Air Force, and it is something that we found a lot of success with. So really, our next challenge is how we can unplug this capability, how we can get it out of the office and get it out to the jet and get it out in the field where it can be used. So we're kind of calling it deployable Google Earth. I think around this building they call it Google Earth Portable. It's a million different names, but what we're really talking about is just untethering this capability and getting that map data off the network. For us, that means reduced infrastructure costs. Because we're dealing with these proprietary networks that are encrypted, it's very expensive to put in new access points. And so one benefit for us is that if we roll out 8 new mission planning rooms, and these are rooms where pilots can come and prepare for their mission, we now don't have to worry about installing 8 very expensive access points. And that gives us flexibility in mission execution. If the wing commander, the commander of our base, slams his desk and says, I need to find out right now what's going on in the world, we don't have to try to relocate him to a room where we may have access to this classified network. We can now just go in with the laptop and the portable hard drive, which you see here, and brief him right off Google Earth. So a very neat capability, and it, again, is a force multiplier for us. What we're really excited about is this also gives us a chance to take charge of our own globe. There are many other organizations within those 2 massive bureaucracies I showed you that own Fusion servers and own Google Earth servers. But unfortunately, us peons down at kind of the lower levels, the lower echelons of that command, don't have the ability to necessarily request the type of imagery we need on those globes. And so, quite frankly, the problem is that when an aircrew member walks in the door and says, I'm going to Balad, Iraq, I need to see the parking ramp at that airfield, this is the best I can give them on a couple of the globes that are available through the bureaucracy. That is just not acceptable. And we lose a lot of credibility with our pilots because this is the imagery they can pull off of Google Earth on the commercial side. So they walk in the door and we show them this, and they have much better access from their iPhone. And that really hurts our credibility. So the other thing that drives us nuts is that this imagery exists. NGA has paid for this imagery. They bought it from Digital Globe or GOI, and it exists somewhere else in that bureaucracy, but we can't get the 2 parts of the bureaucracy, the one with the Fusion server and one with the imagery, to talk. And so we're going to cut them out of the loop. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the imagery from the folks who will give it to us. We're going to put it in our own Fusion server. Then we're going to push it out to our own Google Earth servers. And we can use those portable Google Earth servers to brief and provide this imagery wherever they need it. Our pilots are very excited about that. And they're very excited about this concept of possibly mission planning in a 3D environment. And so the next step, and where we'd like to go with this, is to start moving this capability potentially into the cockpit. And so at present, when our folks are flying into Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, this is literally what they have to plan their approach or departure into that airfield. It's a flat map. It's a aeronautical chart, a TPC, a tactical pilot chart, and that's the best they have. What we have kind of created some interest with is showing them Google Earth, taking the same chart, overlaying it as a GeoTIFF, or what we're going to do is we're going to push it through the Fusion process here in a couple weeks. And then we can take it down and show that product as it exists against terrain, and give them multiple views of their dogleg approach into Bagram. We can then line them up for a downwind final, and I think that happens here. We can mess with the transparency, and this just boggles their mind because for 10, 15, 20 years, these folks have mission planned on a flat, 2-dimensional product, and this is just a completely new way to visualize airspace and to visualize the operating environment. Even the fact that they could turn and look at terrain from a 360-degree perspective it gets everyone very excited. So, all right. Another piece of this is taking a lot of the operations data that they use, the airspace control mechanisms, and we'll try to show that on this next slide here, getting away from the 2-dimension again, and bring those in so that we're creating a composite overlay with the terrain, with their charts, and then with the airspace control mechanisms. One of those is this sort of approach, PI we call it. And these are the different sectors they can use to get into the airfield. This is a way to control all of the air traffic coming in or out of an area. And this is the first time that they've actually been able to look at all 3 of these dimensions in a single place. In the past, this might exist as a piece of paper on a knee board on their lap. They might also have a piece on a binder that's sitting on their lap. And so for the first time, we've taken these 3 different sources of data, we've put them together. We're also doing this with things like tanker tracks, where the tanker aircraft fly. We're doing it with kill boxes. I'm sure that none of you are familiar with kill boxes, but it is a geographic container that you don't want to find yourself in. And it's just a really great opportunity for us to take the technology that has already been proven and is working in the consumer market, take it to our pilots, and really augment the way that they do business to make sure that these guys can fly, fight, and win safely. And that's really what it's all about. So we bought 1 Fusion server and 10 Google Earth portable servers. We're bringing those online here in the next few weeks, and we'd really like to come back next year and tell you how it worked out. But at this point, we're anticipating this is going to be a great success. So that's all I really had for you. I would be happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Well, I guess I should tell you that we only have one portable at this time because we're moving in that direction. We just signed the contract. We're just getting the hardware. So our intent right now is probably every 28 days because that's when we get new airfield information, and that's when we get new DTAD information on a regular cadence. We get that delivery from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. So probably monthly, we're going to put it all through the fusion process one more time. So. Sir?
Are you going to incorporate any weather information into your active maps?
And the Air Force Weather Agency is back there. There's a lot of excitement in our community to bring that weather information out, and that's just another stop these pilots have to make when they're preparing for a mission. As they go, from point A, they stop by us, and then they stop by the weather desk. This is going to make it possible to give these folks all the information they need in one place, and that's an exciting capability. So we're getting there, but we're not there yet.
So is there any talk of the pilot's location actually being on the map real time? Is there a way to do that?
There is, and we've had some success with that, exporting GPS trails from the aircraft after they've already landed, but also getting that GPS information in real time as they fly. So we're not there yet, but with the fleet of aircraft we're talking about, 1,200 different aircraft, and some of those missions being classified, some not being classified, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but it's all part of our data integration plan that we're knocking down those barriers as we can. So.
Do you have to load all the data from your spatial server, or do you have to just do a subset of the data?
Well, our plan with the map data is to actually create portable hard drives with kind of AOR, or area of responsibility specific data sets. So we might do one for CENTCOM, which would be most of the Middle East. We might do one for SOUTHCOM, which would be South America. And then most of the overlay information, like the routing, the kill boxes, the threat information, that will push out in wholesale fashion. So. Any other questions? Thank you again for your time.